You are probably throwing away a small fortune every single time you pull up to the gas station pump and you do not even realize it. The automotive world is absolutely packed with fuel-saving tips, tricks, and legendary advice passed down from generations of mechanics, uncles, and guys hanging out in the auto parts store parking lot. We accept these unwritten rules as absolute facts without ever questioning the science behind them. But today, we are tearing down the most expensive and persistent fuel economy myths that are quietly draining your bank account. We are going to look at the real engineering, the actual physics, and the modern technology that make these old habits totally obsolete. Let us start with the biggest, most expensive lie sold right there at the pump, which is premium gasoline. You pull up, look at that shiny nozzle with the high octane number, and you think you are giving your engine a luxurious treat. The advertisements and the bold lettering tell you it cleans the valves, adds horsepower, and makes your car run like a race car. Here is the absolute truth. Unless the owner manual sitting in your glove box specifically demands high-octane fuel, pumping premium into a standard, everyday engine is literally just taking your hard-earned cash and setting it on fire. Octane is not a measure of power or purity. It is simply a chemical measurement of the fuel's resistance to engine knock, which is pre-ignition under high pressure. Standard commuter motors are perfectly engineered with specific compression ratios to run flawlessly on regular unleaded gas. If you daily drive a standard Passat B-Series or a typical family sedan, the engine control unit is programmed for regular fuel. Dumping premium in the tank does absolutely nothing because the engine cannot advance the timing enough to take advantage of it. The oil companies heavily market it as a cleaner option with better detergents, but think about it logically. If regular gas were truly that dirty and terrible, every single older car driving down the road would have completely clogged fuel injectors and blown engines by now. Save that extra money per gallon and put it toward actual, meaningful maintenance like timely oil changes. And speaking of the gas station environment, how many times has someone confidently told you to only buy gas early in the morning to cheat the system? The famous myth goes that the cold morning air makes the liquid gasoline denser. The theory is that because fuel expands when it gets hot, buying it when it is freezing cold means you get more actual combustible energy per gallon before the sun heats it up. It sounds like a brilliant, scientifically sound life hack, but it completely ignores the massive infrastructure sitting right beneath your feet. The fuel at the gas station is not sitting in metal barrels baking in the sun. It is stored in massive, double-walled, heavily insulated fiberglass and steel tanks buried deep underground. Down there, the temperature is extremely stable and almost entirely unaffected by whatever the weather is doing up on the surface. Whether you are pumping gas at the freezing break of dawn or in the blazing, sweltering heat of a summer afternoon, the temperature and the molecular density of the fuel coming out of that nozzle are virtually identical. The pump meters the fuel precisely by volume, and the underground temperature variation is so microscopically small that you would have to pump thousands of gallons just to see a fraction of a cent in savings. The only thing you are actually achieving by rushing out of bed to hit the gas station at 6 in the morning is losing an hour of sleep. Do not plan your life around this obsolete myth. Just fill up the tank whenever your schedule allows and stop worrying about the ambient air temperature. Now let us shift gears and talk about the transmission, because this is a debate that tears the car community apart. There is an incredibly stubborn belief that driving a car with a manual gearbox will always, without fail, guarantee better fuel economy than an automatic. Decades ago, back in the 1980s and 90s, this was an absolute, undisputed fact. Old slushbox automatic transmissions with 3 or 4 forward gears were incredibly heavy, notoriously inefficient, and they robbed a massive amount of engine power through the torque converter. A skilled driver with a clutch pedal could easily beat an automatic at the gas pump. But automotive engineering has evolved at a staggering pace. Today, the landscape is completely different. Modern automatic transmissions, continuously variable transmissions, and highly advanced dual clutch systems have entirely rewritten the rules of efficiency. A modern 8-speed or 10-speed automatic can shift gears in milliseconds, managing the engine RPM band far better and much faster than any human driver ever could. The onboard computers calculate the exact perfect gear ratio for every single specific load, speed, and incline angle, ensuring that not a single drop of fuel is wasted. They keep the engine in its absolute most efficient power band constantly. So, while banging through the gears yourself in a manual transmission, BMW E90 might feel incredibly sporty, engaging, and fun on a canyon road, it is absolutely no longer the secret to saving money on your daily commute. The computers have officially beaten us in the mechanical efficiency game, and the modern automatic is the undisputed king of miles per gallon. Since we are already on the subject of airflow and performance, we absolutely need to address the aftermarket modifications that promise to save you gas. Specifically, those cheap aftermarket cold air intakes that everyone seems to bolt onto their engines the second they buy a car. The internet forums are absolutely flooded with wild claims that ripping out your restrictive factory airbox and slapping a brightly colored exposed cone filter under the hood will magically increase your fuel economy while simultaneously adding 10 horsepower to the wheels. Here is the harsh engineering reality. Your factory airbox was not thrown together randomly. It was meticulously designed by massive teams of automotive engineers using advanced computational fluid dynamics. Its specific job is to pull in the coolest, densest air possible from outside the hot engine bay while keeping water and debris out. Most of these cheap aftermarket intakes actually do the exact opposite. Because they are open and exposed, they suck in boiling hot air directly from around the exhaust manifold and the radiator. Hot air is less dense, which means the engine has to pull ignition timing, ultimately decreasing your engine thermal efficiency. But the real reason these intakes ruin your fuel economy is psychological. They make a really loud, aggressive, swooshing induction noise when you step on the throttle. Once you install one, you subconsciously start burying your heavy foot in the gas pedal at every single green light and stop sign just to hear that cool sound. Your driving habits become far more aggressive, and as a direct result, your miles per gallon absolutely plummet. If you want maximum efficiency and engine longevity, just stick to a clean, high-quality factory paper filter. Let us route back to the fuel itself, because brand loyalty is costing some drivers a lot of unnecessary money. Many people are fiercely loyal to one specific giant corporate gas station brand, completely convinced that the generic, unbranded station down the street sells watered-down, dirty, or inferior fuel that will ruin their engine. The truth behind the fuel distribution network is much less dramatic and far more standardized than the marketing departments want you to believe. Every single drop of fuel sold at a commercial pump must meet extremely strict national regulatory standards for octane and purity. Furthermore, the base liquid gasoline usually comes from the exact same massive regional refineries, regardless of what sign is spinning on the pole above the station. It is an incredibly common sight in the industry to watch the exact same unmarked tanker truck drop off thousands of gallons at a premium top-tier branded station and then drive right across the street to fill up the underground tanks of the cheap discount station. The raw fuel is the same. The only real measurable difference between the massive brands and the independents is the specific proprietary detergent additives they mix into the fuel at the very end of the delivery process. While these special additives can certainly help with long-term engine cleanliness and carbon buildup prevention, they do not possess magical physics-defying properties that will suddenly double your fuel economy or add instant horsepower. Focus on keeping your engine well maintained, changing your oil on time, and keeping your tires properly inflated, rather than blindly obsessing over the corporate logo on the gas station canopy and paying a massive premium for it. Another massive debate happens like clockwork every single summer, and it is costing people comfort and cash. Should you turn off the air conditioning and roll down all the windows to save gas? People treat the AC button on their dashboard like it is a self-destruct sequence for their fuel gauge, sweating through their commute just to save a few pennies. While it is scientifically true that engaging the air conditioning compressor puts a slight mechanical load on the accessory belt and makes the engine work slightly harder, the alternative is actually much, much worse at highway speeds. If you are cruising down the interstate at 70 miles per hour in a Ford F1 5.0 with all the windows completely rolled down, you are essentially turning the cabin of your vehicle into a massive, inefficient parachute. The aerodynamic drag created by the open windows catches the high-speed air, forcing the engine to work significantly harder just to maintain forward momentum. Pushing that wall of air out of the way burns way more fuel than the air conditioning compressor ever would in a modern, highly efficient vehicle. In very low speed, stop-and-go city traffic crawling under 30 miles per hour, rolling down the windows might theoretically save you a microscopic fraction of a drop of fuel, because aerodynamic drag is minimal at those speeds. But the second you get on the highway, it is an absolute aerodynamic disaster. Just leave the windows rolled tightly up, turn on the climate control, and enjoy a quiet, comfortable, and highly aerodynamically efficient ride. Now, let us look down at your tires, because trying to squeeze out extra miles per gallon here can actually become incredibly dangerous. There is a deeply misguided hypermiling trend where drivers intentionally overinflate their tires way past the recommended cold tire pressure listed on the driver's side door jamb. The amateur engineering theory is that rock-hard tires have significantly less rolling resistance, which means the car glides over the pavement much easier, the engine works less, and you burn less fuel. While technically, on a purely physical level, a harder tire rolls with slightly less friction, the real-world consequences to your vehicle are terrible and expensive. Overinflating your tires changes the actual shape of the rubber. It causes the center of the tire tread to bulge outward, meaning only a very narrow, tiny strip of rubber is actually making contact with the road surface. This drastically reduces your traction. It completely ruins your emergency braking distance, makes the car handle terribly and unpredictably in the rain, and wears out the center strip of the tire thousands of miles prematurely. You might save $5 a month on gas, but you will be spending hundreds of dollars buying a brand new set of tires way ahead of schedule. Not to mention, those rock-hard, overinflated tires will transfer the violent impact of every single pothole, crack, and bump directly into your delicate suspension components, slowly destroying your control arm bushings, shock absorbers, and wheel bearings. It is a terrible trade-off. Always check your tires when they are cold and inflate them exactly to the factory specifications. Finally, we have to settle the age-old, highly debated topic about engine idling. Millions of people still firmly believe that turning off the engine and restarting it burns vastly more fuel than just letting the car sit there and idle if you are parked or waiting for someone. This persistent myth is a leftover relic from the days of old, clunky mechanical carburetors, which really did dump a heavy, rich mixture of raw fuel into the manifold just to get the engine fired up. But carbureted engines belong in museums now. Modern fuel-injected engines are incredibly precise, computer-controlled, and highly efficient. The engine control unit meters the exact microscopic spray of fuel needed to restart a warm engine. In fact, restarting a modern engine uses roughly the exact same tiny amount of fuel as letting the car sit and idle for a mere 7 to 10 seconds. So, if you are stuck in a fast food drive-through lane that has not moved a single inch for 2 minutes, or you are sitting outside a grocery store waiting for a friend to run inside, letting the engine run continuously is just pouring expensive gasoline directly down the drain. Turning the engine completely off when you know you will be stationary for more than 30 seconds absolutely saves fuel. And do not worry about prematurely wearing out the starter motor or draining the battery. Modern starters, ring gears, and electrical systems are heavily over-engineered specifically to handle hundreds of thousands of start cycles without breaking a sweat, which is exactly why so many new cars come with automatic start-stop technology right from the factory. It is time to let go of these outdated, expensive myths. Trust the modern engineering under your hood, maintain your vehicle properly, and your wallet will thank you every single time you drive past a gas station without having to stop.